I draw from, and I may, this afternoon or a little bit, bring some books into what I'm sharing. I read from a very broad spectrum of people that mostly ancient. Most of them, I don't read from very many people that are alive today. A few of the people I read from that are alive are like Bruce Lipton or Greg Braden, a few of those, but most of it are people that have been dead for, some of them, hundreds or thousands of years. So I draw from a very broad, and I don't necessarily see eye to eye with a lot of people that I read from. So, if you get a book that I'm quoting from, or if I'm using a book and you see something, I say, well, yeah, but he don't teach that. You're right, but I'm open to listen to the ideas of things that I don't agree with, or I don't even see yet at that time. Or that I want to choose to be that way. I want to choose to be open to see things that's outside of my normal realm of thinking.
Yeah.
And I've just learned that over the years, that if I don't, then I'll box myself up in a place where I don't know I'm stuck there, but I'm actually stuck there. Because a box is a place that you're in, and you can pull God, quote, whatever that is, in there with you. But that's not the limitation of God. He can be in your box with you, as long as you want to play in your box, as long as you want to be in your box. But anyway, I want to read a few of the notes of things that I write out of just meditation or study or whatever. However they come to me, they'll come to me, and I'll just write a lot of stuff down. And so this is kind of just laying a foundation of getting things in an idea form of how to think about certain things, because we generally think of words. A word prompts a picture or an idea of something. If I say a word and you automatically think, now everybody don't always think the same thing if you say one word, And one of the major words that could be said, or I could say, or anybody could say it, is God. That provokes a lot of different ideas. Mm-hmm. Many. I mean, the scale of it, the breadth of it is huge when you say that one word, God. Yeah. And especially in our society today, where we are more and more merging languages together, because we have become not just a little local community, we basically have become a world society because of the internet and et cetera, et cetera. So people are now, you can have someone stand up and speak in English and run it through a machine, and a bunch of people listen to it in Spanish. Yes. And the person's not even speaking Spanish or Chinese or whatever. Yeah. And so we're doing that now. So we're kind of merging everything together. So I wanted to put some stuff up on the board to provoke thoughts that create unity or a oneness of ideas, instead of just a plethora of ideas, instead of just in a room of 100 people, 100 different ideas, and in some ways that's chaos and we don't recognize it. And they can go back after the meeting and talk to somebody, oh, I didn't hear him say that. Well, I heard him say this. And they did say that, but it's how we heard. It's how we register it. So here's a little note that I wrote. We come here to the earth, in this earth realm, and I want to try to limit, but yet I want to try to talk a lot about that, how we come not off the wheel of karma, but how we come off the wheel of creativity. We come off the wheel of creativity with karma. We don't come off of a wheel of karma. We come off the wheel of creativity. And I'll see if I have a chance to get into that and explain what I mean when I say that. So we come here to the earth in this dimension, completely equipped with a tool and accessory kit. This is just how that I hear things. This is how I would put it together. In other words, you have a toolbox. Everybody has a toolbox. Everybody. And this toolbox, most of us have. We are not aware that we have it, and we're not aware of the accessories that's in the box. So we really don't know who we are, and we really don't know what we have. We don't know what we've got. So because we don't know, we disempower ourselves. So we can be so completely powerful, filled with power, and not know it, and it's useless. And that's the dilemma that we face as a human being. To hew something is to simply cut it out. And basically that's what the Hebrew word for Adam, we call it a man. Christianity has taught us to call that a man that lived 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, when it's not. I mean, the Hebrew word, Adam, Aleph, Dalet, Mem, is not even a word. It's 3 Hebrew symbols or signs or glyphs that put together a formula. But we haven't been taught to see that as a formula. So we don't see who we are, or what we are, or what we are about, or what we have, and all of those things. So we have a toolbox, I call it a toolbox, or an accessory kit, and that accessory kit is vital. It is probably the most vital part of our life, yet most of us, we do not know how to obtain the instructions. It does have an instruction manual with it of how to use it. So I don't know how to use myself. I don't even know what I am. I don't even know who I am. You know, you look at the old ancient temples. Ancient temples gave us this just above the door, the entry before you would come in, so that you could be reminded before you ever went into a, quote, church, was not a place to come and sing and hallelujah, God, you're just so wonderful, we just bow down and worship you and you're just marvelous. It had nothing in the world to do with that. It was more or less a place you come and you would someone would get on a marker board or they would have a phenomenal play, and all of those things that they did in these marvelous temples were things that were done through glyphs or through metaphors or through allegories or through mythologies. Mythologies were more fabulous stories that sometimes were acted out in a drama play. And in that play wasn't just to entertain you, that play was to educate you, to train you, to open your eyes, to open your understanding to who you are as this fabulous, this marvelous human being. So we have an instruction manual, and the instructions actually lay down the disciplines. That's a real dirty word. Who wants to get involved in disciplines? That means I might have to abstain from something, or shun something, or maybe not do something, or do something. You know, yeah, that's exactly right. That's what they are. But that's what disciplines are all about, and those are things that we personally have to instigate, initiate, put into practice for myself. It's not because somebody can get up here and tell me something or show me something or say something and then, wow, I can do it, he can do it. No, it gets down to just the nitty gritty, rubber on the road, you and yourself. It is not anybody else involved, period. I ain't fixing nobody. I ain't getting nobody saved no more. Hallelujah, I'm free from that. You know what? The only one I am is just exactly like the one that's above the door. Know thyself. If I don't know me, I don't know anything. And so it all comes back to this mirror of looking at myself. So the first thing that we have to realize is we come with an instruction manual, and the word in Hebrew for instruction manual is musar. That's what that word is. It's used actually in several places, and it comes from the root word musada. And the word musada, Jesus uses it in the parable of the mountain, when he's on the mountain, side of the mountain doing the teaching in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. And he ends that teaching with these words: if you build your house on the sand, the storms, the winds, in other words, the difficult times of life will come, they'll wash your foundation out, and your house has nothing to stand on. If you build your house on the rock, the storms will still come, the trials and things will still come, but you have something to stand on, and you'll maintain. You'll weather. You'll be okay at the end. that word there is foundation. That is the root of instructions. That's what instructions are about, to build a solid foundation under you. So for me, or to say these things to me, comes back to what I would call basics, but basics aren't basic anymore. Do you know that? Because if I show you something you hadn't got a clue, you don't know come here from Sikkim, about what I'm saying or what it's about, then it's not too basic to you. Right? You understand what I'm saying when I say that? So, but these things that I'm about to say should be basic, but they're not basic. And so I'm actually going to pick on, I wrote some notes here, and I put on these notes, first time mentioned. So actually these are words that are first mentioned, the first time they're mentioned, and they lay a foundation. And even though a word may be mentioned the first time in a place, it may not be that same exact Hebrew word, but becomes the same English word mentioned again in another place. For instance, I'll give you another for instance of that. God. Do you think there's just one Hebrew word for the one word God? See, there's not. And it's complicated for us when we have the greatest instruction manual for being myself that we have ever been given, and that is the Bible. But the Bible has become a book that hardly nobody knows how to read. Yeah. Hardly nobody can understand it. Just about across the board, almost 100% of the time, you can ask 100 people, and every one of them will say, I don't understand it. I can read one thing, and somebody else can read and get another thing. You can read, you get anything out of it you want. It should not be that way. Why would any intelligent individual or entity give us a manual that brings more confusion than instruction? See, that don't make sense to me. And so my ideology early on, 40-something plus years ago, when I began to study under David, my ideology was, there's too much confusion. Why do you take words mean so many different things? Why don't they just, a word means what it means? And that was always my argument back with Dake and trying to just figure out what it was saying, because I had no prior training. And I was looking at a book that I didn't know anything about, and it seemed like it's an impossible book because it's so thick and big to me, because I never read that much, and I didn't like to read. And so my first time into it, I was scratching my head. And my ideas right up front was, well, hey, best thing I can do with this, because it's so confusing, I'm going to go back to its original source. So that's what took me into ancient Hebrew, was going back to try to find out, where is the fountainhead? Maybe the fountainhead saying the same thing. And so that's how I went back to the original source. So these are some notes that I made on first time mentioned. These are words that are first time mentioned. So these things I'm going to share with you, because there are several things I would like to just suggest today, or at least lay these out in the forms of ideas. And that is, number one, what is God? What does it mean, image of God? And what our dreams are about? And is it any way possible that those things have anything to do with each other? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I wouldn't even say that if I didn't have the idea that they had something to do with each other. I wouldn't even suggest that, because yes, they do have a lot to do with each other. So whatever God is, whatever the image is, and whatever a dream is, they have a lot to do with each other. And many times we don't know that. You know why? We had nobody give us instructions. We never even had anybody to prod us or to suggest the idea of that. So I'm going to back up to some things, and I want you to look at this with me in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. If you have a Bible and you would like to turn there, I'm going to run through a couple of things kind of just across, not spend a lot of time with these. But number one, Genesis 1:26, and God. Now, of course, we know that this word God is Elohim. You know, we spell it in English, E-L-O-H-Y-M or H-Y-I-M, or there's several different ways. And actually, it's plural in Hebrew, so it's not singular. And so in Hebrew, here is here's what it means. It means the 12, Elohim actually means the 12, I'll just put it up here, 12 powers. 12 powers. Now, because there's 12 pieces of this pie. And this pie represents the astrological wheel, or the Mazzaroth, same thing. Now, most of us in Christianity have been taught to be afraid of this and stay away from it. Yet there's probably not a single page in the Bible that doesn't talk about this some way, somewhere. Because you can't talk about God without talking about this wheel. You can't talk about man without talking about this wheel. So right there, those two words, I summed up the whole Bible with those two words. And there's hardly a page you'll go in the Bible and not talk about God or not talk about man. Why? Because number one, the Bible is a book about man. It's a book about you. I call it a biological, anatomical, physical, psychological book about you. So that every character, every story, every numeric value, anything, anywhere in it is dealing with something going on with you. Something about you, something in you. And when you read the aphorism above the door that says, know yourself, this is what you have. This is what we begin to get. We have an instruction Bible, a book, instruction Bible. We have an instruction manual book about me, but I don't know how to read it. I don't know how to extract from it what it's saying. So if I'm looking at this word in Hebrew, which is mentioned here in the first chapter 32 times, God, Elohim. I mean, conclusively. Now here's another word I want you to look at. This is a word also that's translated for God. But yet this word is El. Just Aleph Lamid. Real simple, that's it. El. It's used quite a number of times in the same book with the same English connotation, G-O-D. Usually always in capital. The difference with El as God is it's always capital. The usage of Elohim, it's not always capital. Matter of fact, a large portion of the time it has G-O-D-S with a little g. That's very deceptive for you and me, but when you're reading along and you all of a sudden see a little g with an S on the end of it, you don't really know what they're talking about. But if you read it with a big G, just like you do right here in the first chapter, a capital G, God, wow, you already have an image of what we're talking about. Even though your image is wrong and way off base. And if that's what you see, you'll never see the truth in what Elohim is. So when I say that, I want you to see what I'm talking about. El is power. It's just single. It's just power. P-O-W-E-R. Now I'm going to give you an illustration about something, and I'll talk about this. A lot. Or I'll refer back to it over and over again. This date is February the 19th. This is August the 21st. And the reason I do these right here is that they equal and balance each other. And of course, this is where I, Lynn Hayes, come off of the powers, the wheels of life that had been building me in the womb of my mom. They had been building me up until a certain point. They had actually started at this point right here and worked on me for 9 months. Took them 9 months to put me together. No hammer, no saw. Hallelujah. Amen. No noise, no anything. Took them all this time to build me. And yet they said, okay, we're going to spin you off of the wheel of life. And so right there, they spun me out. Right there, they spun me out. February the 19th. Now, most of you have a general idea of your birth chart, right? Of your birth date. But here's the part that you don't ever have an idea of. Have you ever looked at the opposite of your birth date? No matter, like Annie's is here. Have you ever come down and looked at here, at the opposite of your birth date? See, nobody ever does that. Yet that is as equally important as this. Now, I can do this two ways, and I can show you scriptures and the meanings of these scriptures and the Hebrew behind them, and you can see that. I can actually call this one good, and I can call this one evil. But you see, this is just one tree. It's not two different trees. It's not even two different attitudes. As a matter of fact, this one actually means to be complacent, or to be still, or to be very inactive. And this one right here, actually, ara, the Hebrew ara, it means to activate, to stir to action, to stir to motion. Well, if all I ever do is stay stuck over here on my birth chart, I'm less active. Yeah. But if I can realize this over here is an energizing effect that's spurring me on, that's energizing me to get on about my business, to get on and do something. Otherwise, I'll just stay right over here and just drink another cup of coffee. Just chill it a little bit longer. So these have to work together. It's called balance. It's called the pair of opposites. You can call it male and female, call it anything you want. But now, if we don't know this, if we are not aware of this, and then we begin to study it and learn about this, we don't know ourselves. And so the key here of what I'm talking about is to know me, I've got to know other things. To know me, I'm going to have to know Elohim. Because Elohim, this was my El. This was my power. This was my entrance into this dimension that we call the earth, or into this dimension that we call it a three-dimensional world, or whatever you'd like to call it. This is my entrance into this duality. Yeah. And in this duality, I'm here to learn to dance and to learn to move. That means I go backwards, I go forwards, I go sideways, etc. I'm just moving. I'm moving, and that's the whole. If I just stay here and never, ever really get involved in my balancing sign, then I won't. Now, if I'm born here, it would be just exactly the opposite. And I realize that may sound confusing to you, but the more you look into it, the more you'll see the balance of it, and the more you begin to understand. Because it begins to bring a balance to you individually. And so that's the key. So one of the things that I want to look at here is God, Elohim, in all of its 12 powers, and God, or El, power that empowered you when you come into this dimension. When you come into this manifest world, you manifest as who you are, the person that you are right now, Elohim. And so, right here in verse 26, and God said. I want you to see this word, said. God said. This is the word amir. Amir. And so if you want to hold your place there and go with me to Psalms, go with me over to the book of Psalms, chapter 19, just Psalms chapter 19. Now we get to dreams after a while. That's on out there. But for these things, we have to lay a foundation for certain things so that we have an idea of how to think about these things. Now this word, said, let me put this word on the board here. And I want to put it up here in Hebrew because I want you to see something about this particular word. Let's see, it's Aleph, Mem, and Resh. Amir. Aleph, Mem, Resh. And actually, the word said is not, it's used 10 times in Genesis chapter 1. It's where the Hebrew builds what they call the Kabbalistic tree of life. And in the Kabbalistic tree of life, they draw from this thing, they call it the Adam Kidmon, which is, that word simply means the God-man in the sky. And you see me draw that little character up here so that each power represents certain organs or certain faculties of the human body. Right? Yeah. So we know that each one of these represents certain faculties of the human body. So wherever you come in the wheel, wherever you come in there, you have certain attributes from this faculty of power. Right? Everybody understands that?
Yes.
So you can't not recognize it. I mean, you have to learn to recognize. So if I'm talking about God, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 12 powers, or the power of the wheel, the 12 energies, the 12 sources, the 12 essence. It's just so many different ways to say that, so many different ways to try to build this same ideology. Now, the word said there, amir, this word right here, actually means to emanate or to spew. Let's see if I even wrote that down. It means to emanate or to spew. So, here's what happened with me. I'm incubating in the womb, and I'm being built. Then all of a sudden, God said, or God spewed me. Now I want you to see where you emanated from. God said, you came out from source. Yeah. You come out from essence. So what does that make you? That makes you whatever this is.
Yeah.
So whatever this is, and this is God, that makes you this. It can't be nothing less than that. And that means that this has deposited, i.e. built you as itself. It can't not. I mean, it's all it can possibly be. So it spews you out. So you come out into this dimension now as this. And that's the word said. Because see, when we English, we say, well, he said, then we're talking about he's talking or he's speaking. Well, see, that's not what this word means in Hebrew. Amir. It means to emanate out of its essence, or to emanate out of the source, or to give out of itself. And when it says God said, Elohim emanated out of itself. He spewed out of itself. Itself. You can get that. It cannot spew anything less than it is. It spews as it is, and that is you. Now, we may have collected some things, we can call it baggage if you like, or whatever, or we can call it attachments in our journey. Yeah. And we do, okay? We do. And you know, a lot of our journey is to learn how to shake off and turn loose. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That would be a good song, something about shaking off and turning loose. So that we can kind of free ourselves, you know. Every now and then we need a good shaking off, a good cleansing. Need to cast the demons out of you. So, a little charismatic there, a little charismatic. Anyway. So God said, that's verse 26, God said. So that emanation, that amir, that's what that is. Now go with me to Psalms 19. And this same or singular analogy is given here. It's using different words, and it's using different Hebrew terminologies, but saying pretty much the same thing, okay? Psalms 19:1 says, and the heavens declare. The word declare is kafar, and it has this same basic root with the rash in it as emanate, but now this word actually means to inscribe or to score. Like for instance, if God scored you, you could say he scarred me, or you could say he branded me. I'm of his brand. I'm of his score. You follow what I'm saying? So that's what this word right here, kafar, would mean. And so it's more like proclaiming. And in that, we would kind of get the idea of talking or prophesying or declaring. And that's why it says, I declare. So the heavens declare the glory of God. In other words, this right here is constantly declaring the glory of the Elohim, the powers. He's declaring this. And it says, and the firmament shows his handiworks day unto day. Now what's these words? I think they're phenomenal. Day unto day utters speech. Night unto night shows knowledge. Now I want to ask you a question. If the day is talking to you, are you hearing it? Most of us know we're not hearing it. Now why would that be? If there's something being said from the day, the word day is the Hebrew word yom, which actually means life, life essence, extended life. Extended life is talking to me today. We can say, well, that was God. But that's okay. You can say it's the same thing because it's coming out of the Elohim. Every day is talking to me. And at night it's showing me knowledge. Most of us, we were built and designed at night to do what? Sleep. You weren't built at night to work. The only reason we work now is because we got electric machines to have lights at night. Otherwise, we ain't going to do no work at night. So the only reason people work at night now is because of that. Because we have lights. You wouldn't even go stay up late at night and read unless you had some kind of light, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's the night made for? To sleep. What do you do when you sleep? You dream. Everybody dreams. Now, I don't remember my dreams. That's okay. You still have them. They're still going on. Well, what is in the dream? I wonder if there's any knowledge in it. Yes. Because day to day is speaking to me, and night, look at what it says right here. It says in verse 2, day unto day utters speech, and night unto night shows knowledge. Mm-hmm. What is knowledge? Knowledge is forms of instruction. Well, what are those instructions about? Those instructions are about my temple, my tabernacle, my house, God's building, who I am. And it's talking to me, it's telling me, and it's instructing me. Verse 3. Now look at what it said. It says, there is no speech nor language where there. Notice that word there? Look at here. Here's the there. All of the 12 Elohim powers, they're speaking. Notice what it says. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. In other words, God speaks every language that there is. There's not a language that God can't communicate with that one that He's talking to. Yeah. Not a language, period. Communicates the same thing, says the same thing. And it's like they're now, a lot of things they're finding now that they know without a doubt. Maybe 10, 12, 15, 20, 50,000 years ago, there was a universal religion and a universal language and ideology on this planet. And I was sharing with Annie that even Date taught me that early on, called it the pre-Adamite world. And a lot of people aren't familiar with that term, pre-Adamite world. A world prior to Adam on this planet. So Dave taught that. And he taught some really good stuff about that. So a lot of things I really learned and embraced from that gentleman. And a lot of things I didn't. You know, such as it was. So this goes on day unto day utter speech, night unto night shows knowledge. There's no speech, there's no language where their voice is not heard. Their lines. King James says lines. If you look at the Moffat translation, you look at some of the other translations that's more accurate to Hebrew or to Greek, it doesn't say lines at all, it says voices. It's the Hebrew word actually that says voices. If anybody had a revised standard, anybody got a revised standard version? If you had a revised standard version, just look it up. The revised standard version says right there, voices. Their voice is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world. In them has He set the tabernacle of the sun. Did you get that?
Yes.
You're the tabernacle. You always have to remember that. Who is the sun? S-U-N. Who is the sun? Well, I'll tell you who the sun is. The sun, if you look at Egyptian mythology, the sun is called Ra.
Yeah.
If you look at Hebrew, that's this word evil. Ra.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It means that energy of the power that's emanated into you. It's in you. It tells you that right there. That's shouldn't be hard. That should be
Yeah.
plain enough, even in the King James or any other translation you want to look at. So again, he says, verse 4, their voice is going out through all of the earth, and these 12 powers, their words to the ends of the world, in them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. You're right here in Psalms, just real quickly, look at Psalms 84, just kind of a side trek here. I believe it's Psalms 84. Yeah, Psalms 84 verse 11. If you, just real quickly, I want you to see this. And this is a tricky word, but religion has really done us a horrible number with this word, or these two words, these two glyphs. Verse 11, Psalms 84 verse 11, it says, for the Lord. Okay? See that word Lord? Let me do this. This is called Yod, or Yod, Y-O-D. This is called Hay. This is called Vav, V-A-V, or Wav. It has a V or a W sound. And this is called Hay, H-A-Y. It has to do with, this has to do with earth. This has to, I'm sorry. Let me back up here just a second. I put that over the glyph for earth. That's Taurus, which the symbol of Taurus is an earth symbol. But the Yod has to do with fire. Okay? And the Hay has to do with earth. This has to do with, the Vav has to do with air, and this Hay has to do with water. So every place, and the reason I'm doing this, and I want you to see this, because every place you see this English word Lord, if you would always think of these four, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, or fire, earth, air, and water, or Yod, Hay, Vav, Hay, that's how it's spelled in Hebrew. This was called the ineffable word. Do you know what that means? It means it was not pronounceable. It means it can't be pronounced. There's not a way to pronounce this word. Do you know why? It ain't a word. It's a formula. What is it a formula of? It is a formula that's in the earth that builds all vessels, entities, things in the earth. Everything in the earth comes from this. So when you see these two words together, Lord God, that's the same thing I just did right here. You have divided this 12 powers into 4 sections, and you'll find that these sections all fit together. And they all fit because this is a water time, this is an air time, this is an earth time when the earth produces all of its fruit, and this is a fire time when the energy of it begins to spring forth. Every bit of it fits perfectly any way. There is not one way that you can, it's inaccurate. It's perfect. Everything about it. So when you see this word, just like it's used right here in verse 11, for the Lord God is the Son. Do you see that? S-U-N. So what it's all about, when you combine the Lord, the four is the number of the earth, right? North, south, east, and west. 4 winds. 4 corners, those 4 aspects there, always refers to that's the Lord. Actually, it's you. Am I not an earthen vessel?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. Sure I am. In other words, I'm made out of this stuff. But all this stuff right here comes from this one thing that we see up here in the sky. We call it the sun, S-U-N. What's the sun? The sun is constantly spewing and emanating out of itself its energy in the form of light.
Yes.
look at it in Latin, guess what I'd call it? Now, if I'm looking at it in Hebrew, I call it helal. You don't get offended, right? You're all excited about it. If I look at it in Greek and I call it phosphorus, you get all excited, right? But then if I begin to tell you in Latin, and you're going to get mad at me. You know why? Because in Latin it's Lucifer. So, Brother Lynn, are you saying that Lucifer, Halal, and Phos are the same exact thing? Absolutely. They are the light. They are the energy. They are the particles that the sun constantly spews from itself to life everything on this globe. So guess what you're made up of? Light.
Yes.
So in Genesis 2:7, when it says, God formed you of the dust, it's the Hebrew word afar, which has a singular meaning, afar. You can hear it has that rash, afar. Actually, it doesn't mean dirt, it means particles of light. Where do the particles of light come from? They come from the sun.
Yeah.
Just like this passage right here in Psalms 84:11 says, for the Lord God is the sun. In other words, God is not a man. God is not in your image. God is not angry. God is not jealous. Those are attributes of humanity. And because of our ignorance, we applied those attributes to God. Why? Because we took one word that we didn't understand, and that word is image. And we thought, well, if I look like this, and I call this my image, then God must look like this too, because I am as God is in its image. Right?
Right.
Totally wrong.
That's right.
Totally wrong. Because does the image have anything to do with the dream? Everything. Everything. But do I know that? No. Why? Nobody's ever told me that. Nobody's ever taught me that. Well, let's go back over to Psalms. Psalms chapter 1. They have to admit, isn't it fun? I mean, I know it's different. It gets out of the box, and I realize that.
It's good.
But it's kind of learning to think, you know. This is just my passion. I just love it. I love it. I mean, I don't know that I could not ever not do this because I am so drawn to it. I love the research. I love the study. I love the challenge. I love my mind being stirred. It is beyond anything I've ever been taught or I've ever heard. And I realize that people say, well, who else teaches that? I said, well, I'm not really sure. There should be a lot of people. But I'm not really sure. There should be a whole lot of them. I do get a lot of these ideas from a lot of different people that write and write down good stuff. So we have to tear down our old ideologies. I mean, it is just a must. It's necessary. We have got to tear down these, and these things. But we drag these things around us like a noose around our neck, and many times we're drawn right back into our old ideology. We justify ourselves by our judgments. We do all kinds of things because we're just not in tune to ourselves.
That's right.
We are all created for greatness. We are great. All of us are created to be the emanators of the same thing that this Lord God continually does. It emanates glory. God doesn't hate anything because there's no hate in God. God's not jealous about anything because there's nothing for God to be jealous about. Oh, that's religion. Religion has taught us that. We've embraced it. We've gone to bed with it. And I'll be damned if we don't reproduce it in our life.
That's right. Yeah.
And and this to me is time to awaken, to stir myself to think about me, to look into the mirror of me.
Yes.
And find out who I am. We have so many baggages that try to pull us back. The day, many times instead of letting the day energize me, we let the day tear me down because maybe I didn't do something the way that I could have done it. And then we let coulda, shoulda, woulda, and all of his cousins and brothers, the all of them, just put a noose around our neck and we drag them around. Oh my God. Time we get to the bed that night, we are tired, aren't we? I mean, I've done a day's work just pulling all my couldas and shouldas and wouldas and all the others. Always good. They wore me out. They wear me out just thinking about it. Hallelujah. Free from that. So, I'm a creature of glory, and you're a creature of glory. And we are designed, we're built
Yes.
to emanate that glory and to live in that glory, to just bask
Yes.
in that glory. On
Yes.
the
Yes.
We're going to lay out there in the
Yes.
sun.
Hallelujah.
S-U-N. We're going to soak up some particles. Well, I tell you, we're soaking up the particles even right now where we sit,
Yes.
because we are under the energy
Yes.
of the S-U-N.
That's
Yes.
right.
It's
Amen.
speaking to me day into day. And if I know how to lay my head on my bed at night and draw from this knowledge, it's still speaking, still teaching, and still talking to me. So,
Hallelujah.
verse 26. And God said, Kafar. That means he's showing her. He's showing forth. What is he showing? He's showing his handiwork. He's showing me who he is. We use that word said. And I'm not upset with that at all. I don't get mad about it. That's fine. We're going to use that. But that's not. The word is actually more powerful than that. Because, many times we don't pay attention to words. Have you ever noticed that? Sometimes words are some of the least things that we pay attention to.
Yeah.
Many times actions talks louder than words, don't they? Yeah. Well, if we would learn to follow these actions of the Elohim, we would begin to see that is God's words. It is God's action. It's the emanation of God and what God is. So the powers, showing forth the powers that be, and the powers of the Creator. So these are words that I have just out of study and research. I call them mentioned first time. First time these words are mentioned, like for instance Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God, that's the first time Elohim is mentioned. Elohim starts out telling you, right here is where it's at.
Yeah.
This is the foundation. This is it. The 12 powers, those 12 astrological signs in the zodiac, the wheel. And oh my God, if we would get past the fear of a Ouija board, or of tarot cards, or of anything else that religion has told us it's the devil. God, I do like to want to cuss real bad when I hear these dumb things that we say, and it ain't us. We've been taught to say that. We've been taught to talk about these negative energies, not knowing that the devil, Satan, is in me. It's me. It ain't something out there that's affecting me. It ain't what's outside you that affects you. It's what's inside you that affects you.
Yes.
You might think something out there is affecting. All that out there did was stimulate that you already got in here.
That's right.
And if you got whatever, your drawers in the wad, or you got upset or angry, it's because you had your drawers in the wad in here.
Yes.
Yes, amen to that.
So you need to put on your big breechy panties or whatever you got to have, and cowgirl up, and cowboy up, or whatever that means. So it says, and God said, let us make. Now immediately when you hear the word make, I'm going to show you what you think of. I'll show you what you think of, which is not what this word said. So it's difficult right there, already start gate. I mean, it's the first time this word is even mentioned, make. It's the first time it's said here. It's the first place you'll find it. God, make. God said, let us make. Make. So what would you think of when you think of make? Well, most of us would think of that sweet, that wonderful, delicious, healthy stuff that we just ate for breakfast, that I would call it biscuits and gravy, that my grandma and grandpa raised me on and said that, but it was a glorified type of biscuits and gravy. Supposedly a little bit more healthy, it's a little bit more healthy or healthier. But either way, it would. So what happened? Y'all made that, didn't you? So you said, let us make that. And so what really, we have the idea of to create something. Isn't that how? Well, there is a Hebrew word that has that same connotation with it, but it's not this word. And I'll just give it to you. It means to cause to exist, to create, or to form, or to put in order, or to make something such as make breakfast, or or make the bed, or make a dress, or a pair of pajamas, or, do you understand? That's how we associate the word make. Well, that word in Hebrew is seem. It's spelled with the sheen, the yod, and the mem. Seem. And actually, that's what it means. It means to appoint, or it means to dispatch, or it means to make, or to purpose something. That's exactly what it is. That is not this word right here. This word is also. Now you can hear it. Seem. Also. Completely different word. And so this word right here, asa, actually means to furnish. Now I want you to think about it now. So here we have the 12 astrological wheel that says, let us make. But it didn't mean to make up the bed or to make breakfast. It meant to furnish. Now there's a difference in what we're talking about now. Oh, what is it furnishing? It's furnishing that it's creating, or that it's building. It's furnishing it with itself. That's what this word means. It means to furnish, or to appoint, or to bestow upon it. So really what this word made now is saying, I'm bestowing myself as you. Not on you, not in you, but as you. So what is as you? Whatever this wheel is. And so that's what this word. So we have to come back. And when I break this particular Hebrew word down, asa, it's spelled with the ayin. The ayin is the number 70 in Hebrew.
So basically what you're trying to say is, I and my Father are one.
Absolutely, baby. Absolutely. Boy, I like that big board that I use up yonder, because I need two boards. I want to kind of keep this up there, but I wanted to, let's see here, see if I can squeeze it over here on
Try
this
not to,
corner.
Lynn, try not to delete that circle, because I want to share something with it when you're done.
The what now?
The circle, the zip circle. Try not to erase that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to keep that up there because I have to keep going back to this. Let me just spell this particular word. Ayin, Shin, Mim. And this particular word, again, means to appoint, to furnish, or to bestow. Have you ever bought a house that's totally furnished? Probably not. Maybe. Would be nice.
Yeah.
Go through and say, yeah, I want to put that furnish it completely. That's exactly what this word means. To completely furnish. And you have to understand you're the house. And there's nothing left undone in you. You are totally furnished, thoroughly fit, completely built and put together. Ain't nothing lacking, period. And when you spun off the wheel, you spun off the wheel with the L, the power to incorporate the powers. So you have to see. Now, you are in here and you're living your yom, your life. That's what that means. And sooner or later, you will come around and you'll spin off the wheel and you come out of this energy system. Oh Lord, my mind's going too many different ways. Into that's what the number 8 is all about. The number 9, the number 8 has to do with this. We call it infinity. It's really not a good way to say it. It would be better off if we said it as timeless or no time. So we come out of no time into time. Well, you have to grasp this. We got to put our mind around this. This power, these 12 Elohim, or in other words, God, is in both places equally at the same time.
No.
God is in no time, and God is in time all at the same time without a diminishing of itself.
Yeah.
So it can enjoy this journey, and that's why there's some people that are trying to rewrite some of the Hindu philosophy that God is far off base from its original purpose, as Christianity did at 326 in the Nicene Creed. God is far off of the base as we are. We are so far off of the base of what we were 1,700 years ago, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We are nowhere near what we were for the first 600 years. That's 300 or 400 years BC up until 326 AE, Common Era. CE, Common Era. That was the first 600 years of this movement known as Christianity. We thought Jesus formed it. Jesus never formed it. The Assyrian community, actually the Hebrew people who left their ancient mythologies and went and embraced the Greek mythologies. They even quit speaking Hebrew and began to speak Greek and called themselves the Essenes. And they were known, they're even mentioned in the New Testament as Hellenistic Jews. I mean, you all know every one of you have heard that. A Hellenistic Jew is a Greek-speaking Jew. He's not speaking, he doesn't even know what I'm telling you right now. That's sad now, isn't it? To have this kind of a heritage and not know it. And that is the plight that's on this people, this group of people we call Israelites or the Hebrew people. They don't have a clue what they got. They're as brainwashed as Christianity is brainwashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I can say these things right there. They can associate themselves with the glimpse and how I write and what I'm doing. But since I'm not putting this, this here and one here and one here. And that's all they did. And you know what they did when they done that? They destroyed a formula and they made a word. And now they can say, oh, well now we can say that word. Yeah, now we can say Jehovah. Well, it's not a word, it's a formula. It's like trying to say H2O.
Yeah.
Put an A-E-I-O-U in H2O and say it. You won't do that. You know why? Because it's a formula. What is the formula of? Formula of water. We leave it there, don't we?
Yeah.
It's a shame we didn't leave these where they were. If we did, we left this book where it was, and we would have constantly built off. You can't negotiate these things. They just simply are. That glip is that glip is that glip. That sign is that sign is that sign. It is that sign. It means what it means, period. It don't mean a half a dozen different things. And you can't make it mean a half a dozen different things. It means what exactly it is. And when we learn that, we begin to understand it. I can take that word right there and I can look at that, or those glyphs, I can look at that, I can make a word out of that. I can put vowel points in, but then I can look deeper into it. If all I ever see is the word, that's all I ever see, I will never understand the power, the energy, the essence of what that is. And if I can't see the power, the energy, the essence of what that is, I can't see me. I'm just a human. I'm just a man. You know, I need my brain washed. All that mess, you know, I got all that I've got to do. Well, the ayin starts right out with this glip right here, and anybody that has a little bit of Hebrew would know this actually means the eye of God. In other words, it's that of you that God sees through. And so God has to borrow something in you so God can see through you. So ever how you, and by the way, that right there is your pineal gland. Right here. The Hindus put that little red spot there to indicate that theirs is open. It's a shame you and me don't even have nothing and ours is closed. But we do need to. I've thought about several times putting me a big red dot, go through my name and see how many of my quote Christian friends say, what the hell gone wrong with you, Lynn? You know, because a lot of the Indian and Hindu people, which are, you get to know them, they're just as precious as quote, good Christian people, because a lot of them own stores and a lot of them are customers, traded with me for years, and just, they love their family, they love their children, they love their grandchildren the same way you do, the same way we do. Now, a lot of their religious ideologies are really strange because of what they've been taught, but so is Christianity.
Yes.
And there's not one meaner than Christianity. Christianity will not even hesitate to kill in the name of Jehovah. It will kill you right real dead now. It'll go to Vietnam, and it doesn't take not even 1 second to mow down as many of them Vietnamese, bless God, in the name of my God. It burns me up. You know, God is not behind war. This is not a warring machine. This is a machine. And now then, scientists are beginning to notice now, they even watch entire galaxies not collide with each other, but dance with each other as an entire galaxy will begin to commingle and dance with each other and then come out still intact. I'm telling you, this whole thing that God's got going on out here, that we call it the universe, the space, all this going on out here, the unity, the beauty, the energy, the love of it, and even here as it's manifested on this earth, if we would just look at it and just pay attention to it, fall in love with it, and love it like it loves us. It's just like our animals. People say, you know, you look at a dog has got the unforgivable love, you know.
That's right.
You can beat a dog, kick a dog, or do whatever, and he'll just come scrooging back up for a little more love. You know? But then you can't do that with me. Right? I was going to say you, but no, you know, we have to learn to get me out of the way, don't we? Okay, so this is the eye of God. This is the sheen. This one has a 70 value, and the value of these glyphs are very important, and I'll show you how they are. The value of the ayin is 70. The value of the sheen is 300, and this sheen actually is the glyph that stands for spirit or breath. So it has to do with the Spirit of God or the breath of God, or, you know, you and I we could call it air or water. And, you know, I've got this spelled wrong. I was looking at another glyph. This should be with a hay, with a 5 right here. So I have 375, right? So if I'm just doing gematria. You know, gematria is where you take the value of a glyph or a sign, take its numeric value, and combine all of the values and constantly reduce them to the lowest common denominator. Like for instance, there are two numbers that both numbers, no matter what you do with them, both numbers always will refer to 10. And that is this number, 1, 2, 3, 4. The numeric value of that is 10. You say, well, how do you get that, Brother Lynn? 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. And 6 plus 4 is 10. And the other number that this is also is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And 7 will always reduce to 10. Those are the only two numbers that will always reduce themselves to 10. But every time you see those numbers, 4 or 7 or 10, they're always saying the same thing. So the 7 will reduce itself down to 10. And the way you would do that is just exactly the same way. 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, 28, 8, 9, 10. See how that's gives you that. So when you see these things, this, by the way, this is the physical body. 7. That's the 7 yoms, the 7 stick man, the 7 chakras, the 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 golden candlestick. Anywhere you see 7, 7 seals in the book of Revelation, 7 vials in the book of Revelation. Anywhere, it's always, everywhere. Anytime you come up with that number 7, you're always coming up with the physical body. And when you come up with the number 10, in every case, the number 10 always will equal the male and female. The 1 for the phallus and the 0 for the young. Always equals that. Always. So it's common. Now, so that you take these, now watch this is 300, this is 70, and this is 375, right? 375, which equals 7 and 3 is 10, that's 15, right? So that would equal 5, that would equal 1. So this would have much to do with male or copulative, creative energy. No matter how you look at this word, this is what this word would have to do with. It will have to do with the copulating of energy and how that energy begins to work. And so I'm going to, let me introduce the next word, and then what I'm going to do, I'm not sure about our time, but I'm going to just go ahead and we'll take a break, because again, I want to look at 3 different things, and we basically are really trying to hammer at the Elohim, the first thing. If we don't get God right, there's no sense in going any further. If we can't tear down our old ideology of God as a man or something that's in an image that's angry or that's on my side and not on their side, if I can't get rid of that image, that ideology, you can't grasp anything. You can't get past that base. You're stuck there. So it's imperative. That's what I'm driving. We have to get to that place where we understand the Elohim, the El, and the Lord God. I have to understand that. So let's just...
The word you got circled there, is that make?
This right here?
Yes.
This word?
Yes.
No, this word is asah. It's the word make, like God to make.
Make.
So it's not the same as the word that we talk about that we use, the way we use the word make.
No.
So see here, when it's using this word make, like this right here.
Furnish. That's furnish.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yes. It just simply means that God He's bestowing. What is He bestowing?
Yeah.
Of itself. That's a deposit of itself. So you have to see, when you're using this word that we see right here, asah, we are thinking of ever what God, Elohim, El, Lord God, is. I can't be nothing less. Why? It's been bestowed upon me. Been granted me as me.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the first place we'll just stop and hook back up here in just a little bit. Is that okay? Or if you have questions, anybody have questions about anything here?
One of the things
I can.
that he did to me
No,
with
we know
that
that.
wheel is, you know how when you had, I don't know, one of the science courses growing up, there was all different colors on the wheel, and then when you spin it, it became white.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah. I remember that.
And that's what I was seeing as the center is the one energy that we are, coming out of all the different products. You want to grade us as products of the same oneness. You know, and then I was thinking of Ezekiel's wheel, the wheel within the wheel, the center, the oneness.
Yeah. That's like, yes.
Ooh, that opened up right there.
Every wheel has an outside band to hold the spokes in place. It also has an inside band we call a hub.
Yeah.
And I was seeing Ezekiel's wheels too.
Yeah.
So this makes this a wheel within a wheel, and you could even put whatever in here to show how it's connected.
Yeah.
It's one whole thing. It's actually 12, 13, 14 parts, which is double sevens in that. So, let's see what I put here. This is the balance. Could it be that this and this meets in here? Is this where we're one with God? Is this where we become all-knowing? Is this where the wisdom lies? Is this where the, what we call the acacia records are? When we can come in here, and is this the true marriage?
Yes, that's the true marriage.
And then you put a wheel within a wheel. Is the hub of that. Is this our work? Is this our journey to get
Yeah.
right here in that bullseye dot?
Yeah.
To where then we are one with everything.
Yeah,
Because down here I do nothing.
Yeah.
Up here I do too much.
right.
I'm a workaholic or I don't do nothing.
Yeah.
That's me and him. So that's why right here is where there's a balance. You can be overactive, you can be
Yeah.
underactive.
Yeah.
And when we're overactive, does that affect our overactive glands?
Whoa.
If we're
Yeah.
underactive, does that affect our glands to be underactive? Because if we're not in balance, our body, this is our body.
Yeah.
So if our body is not in this middle hub, it is imbalanced somewhere.
And it balances our thinking as well.
Everything.
Everything is.
So our work is to hit the bullseye and to learn to stay there and function from there. And like people like Edgar Casey,
Yeah.
and these people, they got right there. They had to.
Oh, yeah.
They found the key to life. They found the way into the Holy of Holies,
Yes.
which is to become one with what? With your own self.
Yeah.
Right.
With your
Yes.
God self, your
That's
higher self, to bring them in. This is the true marriage of the Lamb.
Right.
Into the one dimension.
Yes,
The wholeness.
to where the both becomes one.
Yeah.
There is no more spiritual, there is no more secular.
Yeah.
Everything is one
One.
right there. That's what true oneness is.
That would be what God has joined together. Genesis 2, let no man put asunder. No, you can't divide that. Because God did that.
That's right.
Because in the center of that, there's no division.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's one. It's just
Total
one.
God. Oh, my.
What I'd like to provoke, and this is the reason I did this,
Mm.
is I'd like for you, all of you, because I have, and I want to learn a lot more about my opposite side. Because I know that the only way I balance myself is I've got to, that's a beautiful illustration that Annie, let me add something to it that Kirby
Yeah.
just talked about, and that would be this. The source of everything is light, life, and love.
Love it. Yeah.
That's the source of everything that there is,
Yes.
which is always symbol. All ancient symbols symbolize it with a pyramid, with a three-sided structure pointing up, because
Yes.
that's what fire does. That's the symbol of fire. Remember, we just read
Yes.
in Psalm, God is a consuming fire. But here is another thing that the fire does when this Elohim becomes the Lord. It's symbolized with this symbol. Now, do you
Okay.
see what that is?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
the symbol for water. So when you mix fire and water, the only thing that you can have to distinguish the fire and the water is air. Because the place of their dimension is the earth.
Right.
So you see that symbol right there, don't you?
Yes.
What do you call that?
Star
The
Day.
Star Day?
That's right.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at this and you think about it, if you're balancing, like for instance, if my fire sign, February the 19th, that's my fire sign. If August the 21st is my earth sign, because they're married, they're pulled together, that's when I come out of the wheel of nothing or timeless. We call it eternity. It should not be called that, because you know in the Greek, there's not even a word for eternity or eternal. That's a concocted English word. Like for instance, when you read in the gospel where it says that Jesus offers you eternal life, that's a concoction of words. That is a pollution. That's an addition. It doesn't never say that. That's a word they made up. If you go in the Old Testament, the word eternal don't even exist except in 2 places, and it hasn't got anything to do with time. It's only in there twice. Now, that's the word eternal. The word eternity is in there 14 or 15 times, but it doesn't have to do with time or timelessness. So, if you look at this and you realize that I come off this fiery wheel of energy, light, but at the same time, I mingled myself. You're right. But that's the marriage right there. That's beautiful.
And what do they say that's in the middle of the earth?
Fire.
Hidden in the
Core.
earth.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right.
Whew.
We went to
It starts
Egypt,
at
what,
night.
2 years ago now?
Yeah.
And we found out that under
Pyramid.
these temples and all this stuff, there are all kind of underground tunnels that people believe that was filled with water at one time. I bet you, if you could see an aerial underground those pyramids, there would be a big wheel of those.
I bet you there would be in the midst of it, the fire.
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
the earth
Because-
is supposed to be hollow and have a sun right in the middle of it.
Well, we were both reading a book of an ancient professor, and I can give you his name, but I can't recommend his books. I mean, some of it I think is really marvelous. Some of it I would just say is a waste of your time to read from what I've seen, but I'm just not there where he's at this moment for my life. But he said some profound things. He said right now that there is 270-something feet directly under the center of the pyramid, 243 feet underground of the Giza pyramid is a generator that is still active. It's just been dormant.
I believe
Now,
that could be.
there is another teaching that you can get online. I can't remember the guy that does that. It says that the pyramids were actually on a ley line, and when they were, this is Christopher Dunn, I remember that. It was Christopher Dunn, and I can't remember the name of his book, but he is is he an electrical engineer or is he a structural engineer? He's an engineer. And he wrote a book, and his book is changing science's ideology of the pyramids. He said the pyramids were energy machines. In other words, they promoted an energy that kept the masses of people in a place of peace and I won't say contentment, but they were peaceful. So there was no war. These released an energy vibration. And they were on a ley line, and this was actually, it's sort of like the transfer of the signals that we have with satellites and these towers we can talk to somebody, and it transfers it all, so the energy was transferred all over the world. So the world was at peace. There was no need to be killing each other. So
I have a question. Where we say raw, like the R-A, in Hebrew would that be A-R?
no, in Hebrew.
That is the Hebrew turnaround
Yeah.
for us?
It's the Hebrew, the Ra is the ayin resh. It's this word. It's the eye of God in fire. It's this
I know,
bliss.
it's spelled backwards is what I'm saying, if you were pronouncing it. You pronounce A first?
No, you pronounce the R first.
Okay.
Because this
But
is
isn't
the
that
spell.
pronouncing the English and the Hebrew the same way, and instead of one from right and left and the other one?
Yeah, I could do it that way.
No, I'm just saying, I just didn't know if it was.
That's how it's spelled in Hebrew. Resh ayin.
Okay.
So that's the R.
So it is reversed, okay,
Yeah.
say wrong.
Yeah, because everything in Hebrew, it's just like this. If you, because Hebrew is from right to left, if you look at the 7 yawns in Hebrew, we call them 7 days. If you notice the way that it is in English, it starts with the first day, and it's chaos. You remember Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4 said, and the earth was chaos. What was it? Waste and void? Is that how it starts out? That's how it starts out. So if it's referring to this chakra area right here, or your sexual area, your tailbone. Okay? And then the seventh day, the Sabbath one, was what is it?
Written.
It was peace.
Yeah.
The Sabbath. The word Sabbath, or Shabbat, actually in Hebrew, means peace and freedom. So, since Hebrew goes backwards, it should start out, not in chaos, but it starts out in peace and freedom. Now, if you start your life out that way, if you start out in chaos down here,
Yeah.
well, what are you going to build on? What are you going to always go back to? Your foundation. If you reverse that and you do this exactly like Hebrew,
Oh, my Lord.
you start up here, you start out with peace,
Yes.
and you start out with freedom, and you realize that as the storms are going to come, the chaos will be there. What do you do with it? You bring peace. Be still to the storm. It doesn't mean it.
Yeah.
And again, that's something that I have been thinking about trying to teach and reverse the order of that, because it's just simply there. Genesis 1 through to Genesis 2, 4 of the 7 yards. And I see that so clearly myself if I start and I begin to build this character, and this is the way it lays out. It lays out up here. This is the first day. The head.
That's right.
Not down here at the gonads. It starts out up here at the head. And this is the center of peace. This is the throne of God. This is where the peace is at, right
Yeah.
there.
That's in the beginning of us.
The child starts out in peace.
It
He's in
does.
peace in his mother's womb before he comes out into the chaos.
And that's same thing. That's basically what happens. All right.